Hello and welcome to my January wrap-up. This month I read a total of 8 books and I am happy to share them with you. These are some of them. Some I don't have with me or I couldn't find my copy. So these are the ones we're working with. So the first book I read this month was actually a book I started back in December and finished in January, and that was Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas. It is the, I want to say 5th book, but it might be the 6th book in the Throne of Glass series. I don't want to spoil it, so I'm not going to talk much on it, but Throne of Glass is pretty much about a teenage girl who is an assassin, and she's taken out of these slave mines that she's been enslaved in for the past year or two, and she becomes a part of this tournament in the king's castle to try and become his champion or his like personal assassin. That's what happens in the first book. Book 5 or 6, whatever Empire of Storms is very different than that. A lot has changed, but I don't want to spoil that for you. But I thought it was very strong at the beginning and at the end. I got really bored in the middle and it was a real struggle to get through, but as Sarah J. Maas always does, the ending I was like, I need to read the next book. I ended up rating 4 stars because the middle was very boring, but I do think that the beginning and the ending, at least for me, made up for it. The next book I read in January was Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. This is now one of my favorite books, and I know you know, I don't need to talk about it that much at all because there are a million videos on it, there's a million posts, there's a million, you know, reviews because it's Colleen Hoover, so obviously there's a lot. But I have now read a total of 3 Colleen Hoover books. I'm currently reading my 4th, and this one is my favorite. And I don't even feel bad about saying that because personally it just hit all the right notes. It had all of the right tropes I was looking for. Everything that I love in a romance book was here, and it wasn't pretty, and I love that. So pretty much Ugly Love is about a girl who goes to live with her brother and kind of ends up forming this kind of like friends with benefits thing with his next door neighbor, co-worker, and best friend. The same person, one person, but that one person is his neighbor, his co-worker, and his best friend. And that friends with benefit kind of thing, you see it kind of transform because Miles, the guy, still wants that, and he's like, no, this is what it is. But Tate really wants something more, and so you see that through Tate's perspective, but there's also Miles's perspective in this. Miles's points of view are from 6 years prior, and you end up diving into his past and you learn about his trauma and why he is the way he is and why he can't let Tate in. And I loved it. I really liked the way the dual points of view were written because they both come to a point, and yes, I cried. This was a 5-star for me, and I loved it. After Ugly Love, I read another very highly bragged about book all over the internet, which was The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now, I didn't think I was going to like this book when I first started it, but I grew to love it. And I actually have a book talk video for both of these. If you want more in-depth review, you can go check those out. But this book was very well written. I have come to learn I love Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing style. I love Malibu Rising, and I loved this. I didn't think I was going to love this because the beginning is a little slow, at least in my opinion. But as soon as Evelyn starts telling her story and you dive into her past, it gets very juicy very fast. So if you don't know, this is a book about the 7 husbands of Evelyn Hugo, who is a movie star in the 60s, I think is the height of her fame. And it's about her life. It's basically her telling her life story. to a reporter that is going to write her biography. So I ended up again rating this 5 stars, as it deserves, because it is a masterpiece. After The Lovely Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, I ended up reading Suicide Notes by Michael Thomas Ford. I annotated this a little. I put some tabs in, which is ironic because I didn't like this book very much. It is a very quick read, if you're looking for something short, but this book is about a kid named Jeff, and he's 15 years old, and he wakes up at the beginning in the like psychiatric wing of a hospital after he attempted to kill himself. And it is a very deep book, and it dives very deep into a lot of major topics, and I applaud it. And for being written in, I think, 2008, it is very well written, and it deals with the topics very well. But my problems with this book lie very plainly in Jeff. I did not like him as a main character, and that wouldn't be a problem. I don't like a lot of main characters, but because the book is told through his point of view, it's in first person, I just didn't want to keep reading because I didn't like his point of view. Now, it is really hard in the beginning. I did not like the beginning at all, but I slowly, as I got used to Jeff's point of view, I started to like it more. And by the end of it, I just had this weird feeling of, I didn't really like this book, but I can see the enjoyment in it, and I can see why this book means something to people and why people like it. 2 of my closest friends loved this book and rated it 5 stars, and I see why, but at the same time, I personally didn't like it, and it was a struggle to finish, even though it was a relatively short and easy read. So that being said, I ended up rating this 3 stars because personally, I wouldn't read it again. I don't like Jeff as a main character. I don't like it being seen through his eyes. And there are some things in this book that I didn't like, but I understand why they had to happen. After that, I ended up reading One of Us is Lying. That I cannot find my copy of. It is on one of my bookshelves somewhere, but pretty much, if you haven't heard, even though it's very popular all over the internet, One of Us is Lying is about these 4 students who have detention with the 5th student who ends up dying during detention, and obviously they are the main suspects. The characters are very stereotypical, like a jock, a popular girl, like a geek, and like a drug dealer. It is, I don't want you to come at me when I say this, I did not like it, but I was very conflicted. I don't like murder mysteries very much because I hate not knowing what's going to happen, and I just want to skip to the end. But I just didn't like the book for the majority of it. The beginning is very intriguing. You know, it's action-packed. Like when the kid Simon dies, full of action and like, oh my god, like what is happening? And you're suspenseful. But then the rest of the book is filled with not a lot happening. There's a lot of like police interviews and them meeting in sketchy places to discuss things. And the twist, I didn't see it coming. I saw it coming like about a chapter before it happened, but a lot of people see it before that, which good on you if you did. The twist, I didn't like the twist. On like a little side note, if you have seen the TV show from Peacock, I have, and I personally loved the ending of that more than I love the ending of this book, because I just think that there was a better way to go about it. I don't think the ending was good, and I didn't like the ending. Although I didn't like the ending, I liked the way the ending played out. After the big twist happens, I didn't like the twist, but I learned to deal with it. What happens after, how the twist affects everyone after, I really liked that. And the bigger shock at the end was really good, and I really loved the ending. I ended up rating this, I think, 3 stars again, because I didn't like how nothing happened for most of it. Like, you could have skimmed down about 100 pages of this book, maybe put in a few more action-packed scenes, or at least scenes that had higher stakes, because there was a lot of I felt like nothing, but that also might just be because I personally am not really into murder mystery books. After that, again, I don't have my copy, but I read Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover, which is her new book. I have a book review on my channel for this book, so I'm not going to go too deep into it, so you can go check that out. But pretty much this book is about a woman who gets released from prison, and she's trying to reconnect with her daughter. And through the process of moving to the town her daughter lives in, she ends up meeting this guy who is very connected to her daughter, and he becomes her like only comfort kind of in life as she tries to reconnect with her daughter, who is 4, and like be allowed to see her and at least meet her. She like hits all the right notes and plays up the part and like just rips my heart out and then puts it back, and it's like, okay, it's better now. And Reminders of Him was no different. I ended up rating it 5 stars because I really liked it. And lastly, the last two books, I don't know what I'm doing. The last 2 books I read in the month of January. I kind of went back into my fantasy phase. It was Siege in Storm and Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo, which are the last 2 books of the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I read Shadow and Bone a while ago, probably early 2021, and I did not like it. That being said, I liked these 2. If you don't know what Shadow and Bone is, pretty much it is about this orphan in this magical world, and I can't even begin to explain the fantasy world because it is so like dense, it's diverse, and it's crazy. I just can't even explain it. There's this orphan who, she's a map maker, and she ends up being like finding out she has this power, and it is like a power that people have been looking for in someone for like hundreds of thousands of years. It's the only power that can destroy the Fold, and the Fold is this big kind of like sea of shadow kind of thing that erupted between the country, and yeah, I don't know how to explain it. But anyway, that was a little sidetrack, but going off of that, I think that this, although not a lot happens, is my favorite of the 3 books. I just really enjoyed the like happiness of it because, you know, the war is just breaking out, kind of, I guess. It's not really, I don't know, there's just something fun about this book. And this one was just very well executed. The war, you know, the big conflict happens in this one, and I really liked it. Just for reference, I rated Shadow and Bone 2 stars because I did not like it, but I definitely think these make up for it because I rated Siege and Storm 4 stars and Ruin and Rising 3 stars. I definitely don't think that this is my favorite fantasy ever. I really like the world. I just didn't really like, personally, this trilogy because of the 2 main characters, Alina and Mal, weren't really my forte, but I know there are some people's. And with that, we are done my January wrap-up. Again, I read 8 books in total, which I'm pretty proud of. I know some people are out here reading like a million, it feels like, but it's not about how many books you read. It's about if you enjoy it and you're doing it for fun, which I definitely did. If you have any questions about any of these books, I will be happy to answer them in the comments below. I look forward to seeing you next Sunday. I will be in my dorm, which is a little scary, but we'll be in my dorm, and, well, spoiler alert, it will be my February TBR, which I'm pretty excited about. Not gonna lie, I don't remember what books I have in my dorm, so it's gonna be like a surprise for you and me. Anyway, Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment. And I will see you next Sunday. Bye.